DC5 Episode 1 just became publicly available, and I'm guessing that a lot of you just finished watching it. I have no idea what the general consensus on DC5's premiere is going to be, so maybe most of you enjoyed it, but I got to see the episode a few days early and spoke to several people who also got to see it early, and none of them liked it, myself included. I guess this is technically going to be an episode review, but it's not going to be the same as the reviews I did for DCAS and DC4, and I'll explain why later. Why is this episode so bad, you may ask? Well, it's pretty simple actually. There are several issues with episode 1, but the biggest is definitely the pacing. When the cast was first revealed, I thought that 24 characters might be too many, but now, seeing this first episode, I'm positive that 24 characters is too many. This episode did an atrocious job handling the cast, and contrary to what you might be thinking, it's not necessarily a screen time issue. I can handle certain characters having smaller roles early on if they can shine more in later episodes, but that doesn't excuse the really lazy setup that this episode tries to do. Did any of you notice how all of the favorites immediately knew each other? Characters who have never met each other already have fully formed opinions on one another, and we haven't even seen them speak yet. You may argue, oh yeah, they just watched each other's seasons. That's something they'd all realistically do. What's the problem? The problem, at least for me, is that this solution is really boring and really lazy. It felt like they were trying to yada yada past the initial introductions because ONC knew they wouldn't have time for them. And I'm not saying that the favorites needed a full-on reintroduction sequence, because by this point, the vast majority of us know these people very well. But when I get to the scene with Alec and Fiore where they're talking about the DC4 returnees like they know their entire game already, I can't help but be bothered by that because it feels like they cut off a lot of very interesting character interaction opportunities for the sake of just speeding up the episode. For the favorites, it's just a boring way to reintroduce them, but with the fans, it's even worse somehow. I feel like Odd Nations has genuinely forgotten how to introduce characters because in DC4, everyone had an obligatory, oh, I'm gonna trauma dump my backstory in the confessional sequence, and that was awful. I hated that, and I'm glad they didn't do that at least. I think this should have been a fans-dominated episode, and well, it is, but I wanted the fans to have more screen time and more plot relevance, and the favorites could be... Is it right for me to say I wanted them to be in the background? I honestly think that's the right way to go about it. I think in retrospect, it might have been better if we only saw the favorites as they're reintroduced and during the challenge, and only when they interact with the fans. That way, not only would we have more time to get to know the fans, we could also prop up the favorites as big threats that they'll have to learn to overcome. And then in the later episodes, we can highlight the favorites and explore how they interact with each other. I don't think that this is a perfect solution that solves all of our problems, but I like it better than what we got. Because as is, if you want to really get to know any of these characters, the character introductions are basically required viewing. For clarity's sake, I don't think that the character introductions were an awful idea. I actually really enjoyed watching them while they came out. But generally speaking, I prefer it when I get to know these characters over the course of a challenge or a regular episode, rather than having them just tell me who they are and what they're about through an audition tape. DC4, despite the backstory sequences, was still really good at doing both, and I really enjoyed the first few episodes of the season because of that. Again, none of this would have had to be a problem if the cast size was cut down, but we gotta have Tom, Aiden, and Allie in the season because they make all the money. This leads into my main takeaway with the episode, and the reason why I don't think I'm gonna get invested in the season. As a whole, I really do like the fans. Not all of them are amazing. I think that Nura and Bruno are really annoying, and Evie is someone that I have mixed thoughts on. But I love Ren's chaotic energy, I love Dunia's whole vibe, Sam really hooked me with that confessional at the end of the episode, and I adore Finn and Ara's mean girl duo. They were easily my favorites of the episode. Aubrey is a hilarious first boot, partially because so many people in the fandom immediately latched onto her and expected her to do really well. So, her voting Sam because of a dream she had is just... I really like that. It's silly and fun. No notes. These guys honestly have a lot of potential, and I really wouldn't mind watching a full season with them. The favorites, however, are awful, and I hate them. None of them say or do anything especially awful, but I can't bring myself to care about any of them anymore. Okay, actually, I lied. There is one thing that someone does that really bothers me. Why was Gabby so weirded out by Aliwia's request? I get that some people think taxidermy is weird. It kind of freaks me out personally, but like... This is fucking Gabby we're talking about. Even if she didn't want her dead animals taxidermied, which is fair, I don't know enough about Gabby to think if that's something she would want. Why is she being so... I can't find the words. Why isn't she being nicer to her is what I'm thinking, because this is the same person in season 1 who was constantly put aside for being the weird one, and now all the way in season 5 she's doing the same thing to someone else. Her whole deal was, you vote me out because you thought I made a bad first impression, now I'm getting revenge on you, and now she's here, and I'm like, the favorites have so few scenes in this episode. How the fuck do you mischaracterize one of them already? I am so burnt out of these characters. I've probably analyzed them more than any person on this planet. What more story is there to tell with most of these characters? I don't really trust ONC to come up with any exciting new plotlines for these guys because I think they've all run their course by this point, and in my mind, they feel like they're here as marketing more than anything else. Rosa and the DC4 returnees might have some merit since this is only their second season, and I do genuinely think there is more that could be done with them. But watching Tom, Aiden, Gabby, Alec, and Fiore doing the same shit they were doing in All-Stars, all I can think is, wow, we're really doing this again, huh? And yeah, I realize that as the episodes go on, they're probably gonna have different plotlines from All-Stars, but I don't care. The favorites are astonishingly boring. None of them have any chemistry with each other, which is nuts considering the fans seem to bounce off each other quite well. If this was a newbie season with 12 fans and 13 episodes, I would totally be locked in right now, but the favorites don't provide anything that I like. You know how during Subspace Emissary, during the final battle of the campaign, Sonic appears out of nowhere just to aura farm and look cool, and then the game can be like, hey guys, Sonic the Hedgehog, isn't that cool? That's what I feel the favorites are doing here, and I'm sure anyone who's a big fan of any of these characters is really excited right now, but I am not. I don't think that DC5 is going to be a very enjoyable season for me, which is why I'm not going to be making a lot of content about it, if at all. I might watch the season on my own time just to see what happens, and if anything crazy goes down, I might comment on that, but as far as full-scale edited videos go, I don't think I have the patience to do that. I made this video A, because I knew a lot of people would ask for it, and B, because I haven't uploaded in 2 weeks and I wanted something to come out. By this point, the DC4 ranking script is done. It's 70 plus pages, so it'll probably be about 2 hours long, and it's going to be a nightmare to record and edit, but I will do my best. I have a lot of videos in the works that don't involve DC5, but I still think you'll like them all regardless. In the meantime, huge shout out to my channel members. Sheepishly, Novaz, Factually False, Sour Guts, Nachos, Shoelace, Commander Cone, Ami37000, Hadori Unlimited, Neo Knight, Coco Fondula, Ryu, Critterling, Aquarun 15, Kosa, Help Her Escape, Scorpion Stinger, and Melanie. You guys are still the best. If you like my content and want to see more, consider liking, hyping the video, subscribing to the channel, and honestly letting me know what you thought about the episode. I'm genuinely very curious to know what you all thought of the premiere. Just make sure to keep it respectful. But, yeah, that's about all I have to say on DC5. Have a good day, everyone.